Good afternoon. I declare the 11th emergency special session of the General Assembly resumed and call to order its 22nd plenary meeting. Members will recall that in its resolution ES 11/7 of February 24, 2025, the Assembly decided to adjourn the 11th emergency special session of the General Assembly temporarily and to authorize the President of the General Assembly to resume its meeting upon request from Member States. In this regard, I should like to draw the attention of delegations to document A/ES 11/162, which contains a letter dated November 25th of 2025 from the representatives of Canada and Ukraine to the United Nations and the observer delegation of the European Union addressed to the President of the Assembly, requesting the resumption of the 11th emergency special session. I intend to conduct the proceedings of this meeting in accordance with the rules of procedure of the Assembly and the past practices of its emergency special sessions. In accordance with Rule 63 of the Rules of Procedure of the Assembly, the President and Vice Presidents of the ADS session shall serve in the same capacity as the resumed 11th emergency special session. Turning to the Credentials Committee, may I take it that it is the wish of the Assembly to decide that the Credentials Committee of the ADS session should serve for the resumed 11th emergency special session? It is so decided. In keeping with established practice, I should now like to invite the attention of the Assembly to document A/ES 11/163 concerning Member States that are in arrears in the payment of their financial contributions to the United Nations with the terms of Article 19 of the Charter. May I take it that the Assembly duly takes note of the information contained in this document? It is so decided. In this connection, may I further take it that it's the wish of the Assembly to follow the provisions of Resolution 80/2 of October 14, 2025, by which the plurinational state of Bolivia and São Tomé and Príncipe are permitted to vote in the Assembly until the end of its 80th session, and to also allow these member states to vote at the resumed 11th emergency special session. It is so decided. The Assembly will now resume its consideration of Agenda Item 5, entitled Letter dated February 28, 2014, from the Permanent Representative of Ukraine to the United Nations, addressed to the President of the Security Council, S/2014/136. The documentation under this item is announced in the Journal of the United Nations. I will now make a statement as the President of the General Assembly. Excellencies, imagine you're a 16-year-old going about your day at home, perhaps thinking about school or evening with friends, when suddenly soldiers armed with machine guns wearing balaclavas to mask their face burst into your home. They give you 30 minutes to gather your belongings, force you into a vehicle, and drive you away in an unknown direction. And you find yourself stuck for months in a nightmare. With a different name, not allowed to speak your own language, cut off from contact with your loved ones. What sounds like fiction was a long, terrifying reality to Vladislav Rudenko, who was taken from his home in Kherson in southern Ukraine. They tried to break me in every possible way, he told later reporters. His story is just one among thousands. Thousands of Ukrainian children have been forcibly relocated and re-educated since Russia's aggression against Ukraine. Some have been forcibly adopted, while others have been sent to military training camps. Vladislav was among the few who could be rescued. Another was Nastasia, who I met in Kiev in the Hope and Healing Center for Rescued Children. Through tears, she asked me, "Promise me you will not give in to the aggression. Promise me that you will not stay silent about what's happening. There are so many children, including some of my friends, who just want to come home." She may not know the precise role of this General Assembly of the United Nations, but in those few sentences, she distilled the essence and spirit of this institution and the core responsibility it still bears 80 years after its founding: to heed the calls of the people, especially the most vulnerable among them, children. And on this issue, these are not just their calls. This is what the international humanitarian law, which is crystal clear, demands of us, the General Assembly. Article 49 of the Fourth Geneva Convention prohibits the forcible transfer or deportation of protected civilians, including children, from occupied territory under any circumstances. Likewise, the Convention on the Rights of the Child affirms every child's right to identify family life, nationality, and protection from abduction. What we are witnessing, therefore, is not merely a tragedy of some children. It's a blatant violation of international law. Since February 2022, the General Assembly has reiterated its calls across 8 resolutions adopted during this 11th emergency special session for the immediate, complete, and unconditional withdrawal of Russian forces from Ukraine's internationally recognized territory. That is why the question of returning children cannot be viewed in a vacuum, for this issue would neither have arisen nor persisted without the Russian Federation's invasion of Ukraine. Earlier this year, ES 11.7, adopted by this Assembly, highlighted its concern that the full-scale invasion of Ukraine by the Russian Federation has persisted for 3 years and continues to have a devastating and long-lasting consequences, not only for Ukraine, but also for other regions and global stability. In this context, the General Assembly has exercised its responsibilities with purpose and resolve at a time when the wider organization is under strain and when the Security Council has remained unable to act. Each General Assembly resolution has reaffirmed the need for a peaceful settlement grounded in the Charter of the United Nations and in the principles of sovereign equality and territorial integrity. It is in this same spirit, anchored in the Charter of the United Nations and in the resolution of this Assembly, that we resume today the 11th emergency special session for the sake of a comprehensive, just, and lasting peace in Ukraine, for the sake of protecting the international order, the Ukrainian people, and the most vulnerable among them, their children.